I felt like I've got to make a video about a Bible verse. Um, it's the one that says, the heart is deceitfully wicked, who can know it? And I don't want to discuss what the proper translation in the Hebrew or Aramaic is for that. It's been established by the work of others that that verse in the English is completely mistranslated. But it has led many a soul into despair and depression, because having the identity of a deceitfully wicked heart, which is your core, makes it nearly impossible for a person to transcend themselves, because within themselves there is nothing to stand on, right? And this is why the religion of Christianity and other religions became so popular, because the foundation is based on, shall we call it, human depravity. There are whole theology streams about that, the human depravity. But this stemmed from a consciousness that didn't understand psychological processes, didn't understand trauma. And I'm going to try and explain how it came to a deceitfully wicked heart, or a deeply melancholic and depressed heart. It all goes back to use a biblical quote, the sins of the forefathers, which in our modern language are the traumas that are passed on from family to family, from parents to children. And when they become parents, they pass it to their children, and it becomes a generational thing. It's psychology, soulology, the retrieval of the soul. The soul is crushed from all the generational trauma, and that can be trauma just from this lifetime, but it can also be compounded over 4 or 5 generations of ancestral DNA that courses through our blood. And so we come into this world with baggage, a lot of baggage, that we are not consciously aware of. But these things are hidden away in the subconscious. Oops. Under the sub means under the vision, under the conscious level. We don't see what's under the water, deep within the soul. We only see what's on the surface and how our logical mind interprets these subconscious things for us. So in the soul, in the subconscious, in the heart, there are all these traumas that make the heart desperately melancholy in some cases, and depressed. And what are the things that are there? Mostly the core wounds that are always there are abandonment, rejection, and neglect. And this can take place as early as in the mother's womb, when the mother became pregnant. If it wasn't a planned pregnancy, her heart and soul was not set on embracing the new baby. And so chemically and hormonally and energetically, the mother's emotions become infused into the baby. And the baby consciously feels the not being planned, being a mistake, not being wanted. What does that baby, that fetus, what does that fetus do with all of that emotion? It internalizes it. Doesn't have the rational logic to figure out what is going on, where these emotions are coming from. But it becomes deeply embedded. And the child that comes into the world with this overlay of not being wanted will look at the world through the rest of their lives through a different lens, that the world is a very hostile place. And this becomes a person that usually is more on the pessimistic side, that always sees the shadows, the darkness. The glass is half empty rather than half full. And this is how we become formed in our mother's womb, how our soul becomes impressed in our mother's womb, and then outside of the womb, of how we are treated by our mother and father growing up, how we're treated by our peers. All of these become impressions that compound the sense of abandonment, rejection, neglect. I must be undeserving of love. I am unworthy. I'm a failure. I am unloved. And most people with that subconscious programming will try to reach the only place off planet where we can find love and acceptance, and that is by a belief in God. While God is a real thing, our mind will create an image of God that is most suited to our psychological need. So we create sort of like an imaginary friend that is at some level experienced as a very real apparition and presence. But I want to talk about how these subconscious things play out in what the religious community would usually deem sin and immoral behavior. For example, the subconscious feeling of being unloved and unwanted can show up as a sex addiction, a person that will be very promiscuous, seeking to satisfy this craving for love, and they seek it through physical intimacy. They go from partner to partner because it's an addiction, because this is like trying to fill a bucket that is full of holes. It can't hold love permanently. The same with drinking and drugs. It's to numb out this subconscious feeling of being a loser, being unworthy, being a failure. This is very painful in the subconscious. And so we try to numb that pain by drinking it away or drugging it away. But basically, we do it also with watching TV, playing video games, overeating, comfort eating. All of these things are trying to mask the emotional pain. And that is why it is so important to do shadow work. It is so important to go within and feel more deeply into the reasons and the memories of why these feelings are there. And then you have to reparent yourself, because now you have an adult rational mind, and it will also help. Sometimes you might need a therapist to help you ask the right questions to lead you there. But that's how you do it as an adult. You have to reparent these impressions that started in the womb. Now you understand, the difficulty. Now that you're an adult, you understand the difficulties of life and why a young mother may not want to have a pregnancy. You can rationalize and reason yourself through these wounds. And with understanding comes healing. So just wanted to briefly touch on that, to upgrade the archaic definitions of the Bible when it speaks about sins of the fathers and demonic behavior and sins of the flesh, etc. These things are not abstract, disconnected things that are tied to some demons outside of you. Yes, you will get an energetic manifestation surrounding these inner feelings that you have about yourself. It will be mirrored back to you by energetic entities that the Christian community calls demonic. But these are things, energies that are within you, and they are magnified on the outside. They seem outside, but they are in your psyche. There are psychic projections that are matching your inner world. So when you clean up the cup on the inside, like Jesus says, don't try to wash it on the outside, clean it up on the inside, and then your whole body will be clean. Then these energetic apparitions are no longer going to bother you. You have to go to the root. Clean the root, clean the inside of the cup. Heal your heart. It might be desperately melancholic, but you can heal it and turn your ashes into beauty and your oil of mourning into joy, right? It takes the inner work, the great work of alchemizing subconscious and the conscious through the heart. I hope this helps. Have a fantastic day.